Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Inside Movies Galore. I'm your host, one of your hosts, but tonight we have two discussions for you, one right after the other, and the first is going to be Brandon. Why don't you take it away from here? What are we cooking up for this Thanksgiving?
So I figured for Thanksgiving we should go ahead and follow up our discussion on the movie ThanksKilling with its sequel, ThanksKilling 3, the 2012 crowdfunded film by director Jordan Downey. It is indeed an interesting classic, and of course, for those of you listening to us fine folks this evening, we will have spoilers, so you have been duly warned. We have with us today David Streggy, of course,
Hello.
and Mosley.
Hey, baby.
So we have some wonderful individuals here with us today, and hopefully Jake will be with us momentarily. I know he's been struggling with it. That turkey can be quite feisty, so we just have to hope he survives.
I miss you. Okay. Come back to this.
So it's a pretty simple film. The basic plot is surrounds
Just fix
third
that damn
film.
pluck master already.
after the unfortunate failure of ThanksKilling 2 in space, all of the copies have been destroyed except for one. And that one holds the power to destroying all of mankind if Turkey manages to get hold of it. Fortunately for us, a pure maiden who has lost her mind will help save the world in her quest to restore her sanity. That's probably the most genteel summary you'll get from that film.
Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
So Dave, is this your first time watching the third film?
I actually no. I kind of watched this like right after the first one, which was a year ago now. I think almost. Yeah, I think it was a year ago because we did it around Thanksgiving last year, didn't we?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's been a year, and actually, my thoughts of the film have actually somewhat improved from my first thoughts of this film, and that the first time around, I actually fell asleep half the way through. So I am sorry about that, but this time I actually stayed awake, and I was pleasantly surprised with how I found it entertaining, and that's not saying much because I actually hold a candle and some love for the first one, so I give them some credit for being imaginative for in this film, and I guess with the corny turkey jokes. So, I mean, of course, I wouldn't want to beak your response, but I guess after this time fully seeing it, I guess it was okay.
How about you, Mo?
This was my first time watching it for sure, and I actually hadn't seen the original one since back shortly after it was kind of new. I think kind of watched it at the time with some friends, a lot of beers, and enjoyed it. It was properly like stupid and cheesy and fun, but it was nice to have an excuse to go back and watch that again this time, and then watch this because it just kind of made it easier for me to see the differences between the first one and how over the top they kind of take it in this one. And so yeah, it was my first time watching it, and my first impression of it is very mixed. I'm sure we'll dive into that as we go through here, but it's great and it's ass at the same time, which is I'm still dealing with it internally, you know.
Well, my first time watching it was not this time around. It was well, after I saw the first one, I had to get in on the crowdfunding. I mean, it just had to be. I love ThanksKilling. If any of you see the original original thing we did on it, I have a love for that particular film. It's just
It's amazing.
entertains me. So I had to get in on the original. I think it was Indiegogo for it because I was looking at Indiegogo at the time. It was well worth it in my opinion, as far as originally looking into it. I will admit, much like Dave, I fell asleep the first time I watched it.
There are those
this
musical
particular
numbers, sections.
this particular film.
Yes, ThanksKilling 3. I fell asleep halfway through. Then I said I am not falling asleep the next time. So I fell asleep the second time I watched it, and then I fell asleep the third time watching it. But then the fourth time, it caught on fire and then sank into the swamp. But the fifth time, it stayed, and I was able to watch it.
Turkey that's putting you guys to sleep or whatever.
It's the curse. It's the curse.
So I was able to watch it all the way through, and then this time I watched it, I also kind of fell asleep, so I had to rewatch some portions of it. But that seems to be my experience with the movie so far. So it will be interesting for a discussion.
To be fair, it does have those sequences with like kind of the psychedelic techno music. Those are super relaxing. You know, I find myself kind of zoning out and forgetting.
See, that's the psychedelic techno music was actually part of its ups. So I actually kind of like I said in the messenger, our personal messenger, they had the budget to pay for the techno music behind it. So I guess I have to give it some credit.
Well, the music in the first one was spot on too, and I really enjoyed seeing that. Like that was one of the strong points of the first one to me was that whole like main theme that they did for it, and then it had music in it from a couple different bands and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it all worked perfectly for the movie to give it that feeling that it should have had, you know. And I liked that they made music such a big portion of this sequel because it was one of like the things I really enjoyed about the first one. I gained a whole new appreciation for the first one watching it again for this discussion because it's kind of a schlock masterpiece in a way.
They did so much with so little.
They did, and it just is so self-aware and hilariously fun throughout the entire thing. And I think that some of that was kind of lost on me when I saw it back in the day initially. So, but yeah, the music is huge strong point to this one for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, but as far as the plot is concerned, as we talk about it, I'm not the kind that whenever I host to do a blow by blow. As many of you know, I'm very different in that angle. I was more along the lines of the original concept that we had after we had renewed, which was to start looking at it differently. But I did look at any like plot points that you felt were rather interesting as we went on.
Well, I did think that the going game, the turning it into a game fight, like arcade style, was kind of unique. Later on, the fight between Wise Turkey and
oh yeah, at the very end, yeah. Did you all like the what was it, the overall plot of somebody losing their mind?
I liked it. There was some parts initially with Yomi that made me want to like scoop my fucking eyes out with a spoon, even though I did appreciate the whole like they're doing the Fraggle Rock kind of journey thing that they would do. It reminded me of the Traveling Dan from Fraggle Rock for some reason.
Yeah.
And what about that garbage heap thing that
was totally like some Fraggle shit right there.
That was totally reminded me of the all-knowing trash heap.
Yes, exactly. Like
Except he had Oscar the Grouch's voice.
it was fun. I mean, the plot overall was stupid in enough that it was like supposed to be stupid a little bit, you know, but they drew some inspiration from some cool things in there. It's got a bit of like that fantasy sort of epic journey thing going on it with the old turkey or whatever. That part was like kind of cool when they met him in the fucking swamps or whatever.
Or what about the concept for ThanksKilling 2? Of course, if you watch ThanksKilling, they originally did tease that the sequel would be in space. So they kind of delivered.
I actually kind of sort of liked the teaser better than I liked the movie. So
Captain Pumpkin Pie or whatever it was.
Right. I have something definitely about like specifically and Muff and then the granny. Like they all fucking remind me of Gwar characters.
Yeah.
I've been on a big Gwar kick lately, and it was impossible for me to not draw the parallel. And even if I wasn't, I think I would have thought that because they kind of seem like Gwar characters, you know.
Well, as a Richmonder, I've got to actually have a kind of almost favoritism or hatred of Gwar. It has to be one or the other, really.
Well, which one do you lean on?
Oh, I love Gwar. It's just Gwar fascinates me. Though I'm not a native Richmonder, my family comes from the area, so I've gotten to see both sides of it, of that kind of coin. But Richmond has just a classic. When it comes to music scene in Richmond, it really does have one heck of a music scene.
Right, and as musically inclined as the people that made this are and how close some of it is kind of to the stuff Gwar did, it's a shame they couldn't have done like a Thanksgiving show with the dudes that did ThanksKilling.
Oh, heck yeah.
Have them come on and like do a song with Gwar and put someone in the fucking, what is it, what the hell was the name of that toy or the machine that he had in this? The Pluckmaster.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking awesome.
I mean, so did the Pluckmaster have much bearing on the plot, really?
Kind of, sort of, if only to be that remainder of dudes past, where, you know, his family was massacred, and there was that little endearing moment where, you know, where they kind of sort of apologize to each other while still insulting each other at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, there's a scene in there where this guy is always like welcoming the people to heaven until this one guy's like, you? Nah.
Fuck you. Anyways, Jake, why don't we hear...
Welcome.
Yeah.
Why don't we hear your thoughts? What was this your first time?
I believe so. I could not remember if I'd been subjected to this before, but I think I may have blocked it from my memory if that was the case.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, and what were your thoughts on the film so far?
The fuck was that?
Well, that's the best way of looking at it.
Well, it's a very intentional thing, too, by the people that made it. You're either going to just love it or it's going to be that reaction kind of a thing.
Right. Oh, it was obvious much of the badness was very intentional, but probably most of it.
So a good follow-up question is, have you seen the first one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that a couple times.
Actually, I think he was in on the original discussion.
Yep.
So what did you enjoy that one more than this one?
Enjoy is such a strong word. Well, the first one I guess you could say that it almost hangs together as a movie and almost makes sense as a movie. And it did have a couple moments that I genuinely chuckled at. The part where the turkey is wearing the skin of the police chief and the daughter doesn't even recognize him. Yeah, that
Funny
was
stuff. That chick was pretty classic too.
yeah, it was a little on point, I guess. I did like the part where the turkey and the police chief were just sitting and shooting the shit. I was just like,
Oh
That
yeah,
was
and that
kinda
police chief and his wife ruled. I like how she shit in his fucking coffee, and then she's like, "I want a divorce." And he just kinda,
Yeah, this tastes like shit. That's because I shit in your coffee.
I think that was the gist of my. I can't remember the discussion very well, but I think that was the gist of my favorite parts. Were pretty much surrounded around that one character. But this one, I don't even know. I don't even. There were a few parts where I was mildly amused. There were very few parts that disgusted me as much as the worst parts in the first movie. But overall, it was just like, the hell are they on?
Yeah, there was definitely something going on with this particular film.
Yeah.
I think
But,
we followed that up, didn't we? With what were your thoughts on the overall plot of this?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that they were exactly getting high during this. They were on shrooms, at least.
I don't know about you, dude, but when I take shrooms, it makes me pretty high.
It depends on the kind.
Yeah, I'll admit, like, this is typical white mushrooms. They don't do much for me. And the portobellos, too. But, so, Jake, what were your favorite parts about the plot? I mean, what parts of the plot really kind of held you to it?
Well, again, plot.
Well,
I
loosely
freaking knew he was
said.
going to say that. I love it.
Well, I guess there was. It was. I mean, Yomi was looking for her mind, and Turkey was looking to do stupid stuff like he always is. And the dude with the wig was wanting to open a theme park. I guess there were plot threads.
Would you open how do you feel like a Thanksgiving themed amusement park would do?
I like how that worm described it. He's like, we should just go up in space and find some race and destroy, take their land, and open a theme park to celebrate our. Yeah, I will admit the idea of a worm with a porn stash was fairly amusing, at least for a couple minutes.
Loved it.
Does anyone think or feel like this worm puppet was any relation to the dick puppet in Wolf Cop 2?
I'm not familiar with that piece of fine art there, but
I have not seen it. I'm familiar with the movie, but I have not seen the movie. But
I need to.
It sounds interesting.
Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there for.
I think a real life Thanksgiving theme park would just be like those people on those mobility scooters like in Walmart, and then it would be drunk people everywhere, and then lots of people sleeping on benches and underneath trees and shit because they ate too much Thanksgiving crap when they were walking around the park. And people would definitely dip their nacho chips in the gravy river, despite what Jefferson says.
So I guess we'll go ahead then and move to characters. Were there any characters that you guys felt were particularly striking in this?
Striking or strong?
Yeah, well, some the characters that stuck out to you.
I guess the character that stuck out to me was the wise turkey.
He may not have been there long, but he was definitely an influencer.
Yeah, follow Grafiki. He knows the way. Anyways, I know that there was at least one, if not two, Lord of the Rings references. So I actually kind of like his Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of a look on the whole scenario. I kind of like the the way that he referred to the Featherins, which is the race of the ancient race of turkeys, I guess.
Yeah. That whole part where
Yeah.
they met him really reminded me of Krull. I don't know if you guys remember Krull.
Oh yeah.
Where they're like
Krull.
going through the swamp or whatever.
That is an odd movie. It
Love
really is. I love it too, but it is an odd movie.
A worthy film indeed.
Which we should eventually tap into.
For sure.
But now, as far as the character of Turkey in this, do y'all feel like he holds up in this movie as opposed to the other one?
I think they made it. There's a lot of stuff that's a little bit too on the nose in the movie as a whole. And I feel like it was done intentionally to make us cringe to that point where then it comes back around and starts to be funny again. You know?
Yeah.
I think they had the same problem as Batman versus Superman.
I've not seen that yet. Actually, I abstained from.
They're almost the same film. I mean, you can tell in the budget.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he does. He does and he doesn't. Like that. Like I said at the beginning, and I think prior to this, I'm in a weird place with this one where I kind of love it, but then kind of fucking hate parts of it. So I think he holds up. I like that they gave him legs. I liked his censored cock at that one part where he landed when he dropped his little son off of the pigeon taxi or whatever.
I think one of the weirdest parts to me is when the two skeleton turkeys had put him back together, and they were like, "Sir, we misplaced your penis."
It happened. No, I think that they just made his humor a little bit too on the nose, and you can say that about a lot of the jokes in the movie. It's like it could have been a full 30 minutes shorter and like a bunch of those unnecessary things taken out of it. But I think overall he does. It's still fun. You get some of the same type of fun, and he has a couple of good one-liners. But where like in the first movie, the turkey was one of the funniest parts. I think in this one.
Oh yeah, Turkey's one-liners are great.
They are, but in this one, I think a couple of the humans stole the show as far as like funny bits for my taste, and that would definitely be Dougie and Jefferson, like the Powderwig brothers. Those guys.
Why don't we talk about them then? I mean, they're obviously the ones who are trying to drive the story, so to speak. What are y'all's thoughts on the brothers and of course the vicious weapon, the half pike?
Well, first of all, I would prefer the term "stuff the story."
It was kind of amusing. They had a butter knife on a stick.
The long pike, baby. That was like one of my favorite parts of the movie. I hope the new one's a little bit longer. That fucking shit rule.
What are you talking about? It's a butter knife on a stick.
Let's show a little respect to the memory of fucking Jefferson, okay?
Am I on?
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know. I think Jefferson was the funnier of the two during his brief span in the movie, but Dougie still was pretty goddamn hilarious as well. I think we need to bring powder wigs back. That would definitely be one of my thoughts in the whole situation. Like, I think those are pretty awesome and a good sign of status.
Well, I love how Jefferson is the only one in heaven.
Yeah. Well, hey, he's welcoming a lot of people back, except for one in particular that he really freaking hates.
Yo, me!
But what about Grandma in the family?
Oh, God. I just love it so much.
I don't know
to express. She's probably just as bad as the smoking hippo in Meet.
Oh, I had like big vibes of Meet the Feebles for this. When I watched this, it really did, and I thought it did a lot better than the God. What was that movie with Melissa McCarthy?
Oh, that cop one, or what? Or no, what the hell was it? The cop one?
It's the one that they had with Melissa McCarthy. Yes, that was the one.
Which one?
And Happy Time Murders.
There you go. I knew because I saw the trailer a bunch of times, but
I'm sorry, but that one scene in Happy Time Murders where he's jizzing all over the room, that's just fucking hilarious.
Well, it always will be. I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but it's just anytime you can work in someone just all
did stay till the end and watch her music video, right? Oh my god, it was awful.
Yeah, there was vibes of that in ThanksKilling 3, though, for sure.
Well, and of course, you gotta look at that, and of course, the grandma, she wants to be a rapper.
Wants to be, boy. Show respect. She was hitting the streets on the daily.
And that was her big thing, is she wanted to be a rapper at the end of the day.
Well, when you get stuck with BET, when you got bills to pay, what do you expect?
Exactly.
If you don't put her in a home.
I loved how she was using.
And you live with your grandma in her basement or some shit. I mean, it's kind of.
Though she kind of brought two factors to this for me. She brought both a factor of amusement and disgust at the same time.
She was gross out.
So I think that would be a good way of characterizing the whole, isn't it?
I love that part with her and Jefferson where he's like, "Mom, do you think that's what I want to hear about? So you taking I forget what the name was, but she's taking his
D'Angelo.
Yeah, D'Angelo, and he's, can you stop doing that D'Angelo thing? Fuck that whole interaction. Jefferson is the star of the movie. I think his parts are so fucking funny, and it's probably the only time in the movie where they don't drag some shit out to the point where it's again like not funny to most people, and then it kind of comes back around to being funny again. The Jefferson stuff is just pure distilled. Like those guys are above the grade of this movie for sure. Him and that.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to see something more humorous with just them doing like something else, just because I liked those characters so much.
Of course, the one we're really avoiding is Yomi.
Oh God.
But you can't really avoid her because she's technically the main character of this series.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I would like to,
should have left that bitch in the trash can where he found her. She just sucked so much out of the movie, dude.
She was annoying sometimes.
Well, and the thing that offends me the most about it is they could have fucking done it without that character. Like they could have just done it without that part of the movie. They could have still, again, when I said it could be like a whole 30 minutes shorter.
Yomi, I'm your mind.
They put in there that isn't even funny, But again, I think that helps it get to the point where it's annoying and then it becomes funny again. And then it's annoying and then it becomes funny again.
I suppose it's kind of funny that her mind is stuck in the furnace, in the world of the furnace. So.
Mm-hmm. Another character we didn't mention that could have been a Gwar creature is Frankenturkey or whatever.
Oh, yeah. What was it that he wanted to know as?
You mean Blarth.
Yeah. So, we've kind of covered this. There's one thing that I find interesting when we go back to the plot of the film that I found difficult with the movie is that I felt like the pacing of the movie kind of stunk. I felt like it was fairly slow at places, which is probably why I fell asleep both times. All the times I watched it.
I think I fell asleep when they did that psychedelic trip. When they did that psychedelic spiraling.
See, as much as I loved that shit, there should have been just that first psychedelic scene, and then I think they did like a second one, and that should have been like a music video they made for the special features or something. Didn't really need.
Yeah.
movie like that.
Yeah, they didn't need the second spiral trance thing.
Well, it's as they say, the spiraling shape will make you go insane.
I think if this movie suffers from anything, it was like those years in between where they wanted to make it, but then had to crowdfund it or whatever. And then when they made it, they like tried to put as much shit in it as possible, which is good and bad,
And then, of course, they watched a rerun of Jason and the Argonauts and stuck the damn dead turkeys in it. So,
well, I mean, that aside, it's like what it really suffers from is just being too long and having too much shit in there and having maybe a few too many jokes that were unnecessary to the point of being like unfunny or cringy a little bit. The first one kind of had it balanced a little better, where it was like crappy acting and then the turkey jokes, and then
Yeah, I never saw a film I really wanted to love as much as this film, and even to this day, when I watched it, I was like, I really want to like this.
I really want to like it too, but there are things that make it unfunny, and it just takes too many trips outside of Turkey Land.
I'll go as far as to say that I love 60% of this movie, but there's a good 40% of it that didn't even need to fucking exist,
I'd say
actually, on paper,
for me.
On paper, it was actually, I did not think it was a bad film on paper.
Well, and in execution, some of it's pretty damn good. It has its moments of like brilliance and funny shit, like legitimately laugh out loud in your basement. Your cat's looking at you like you're a fucking idiot. Funny moments, but
yeah,
it just has they drive it a little too much home with a lot of it, and they just make so many cheesy jokes that it gets to the point where you're kind of cringing at it. Like I said, maybe it's just me, and maybe it's something that if we all watched it a bunch of times, which why would we have cause to do that? You might like start to appreciate that shit a little more. I can't decide if it's genius. Like I can't decide if the annoying element of it is kind of genius and a way of them trolling us as fans, or if it was just them trying too hard. You know what I mean?
I think they were trying too hard because there were too many ideas that seemed to be like, oh, let's go this way. Let's do it this way. Let's put this joke here. There was no consistency of the film.
But there's almost a feeling like a brief lingering whisper of intent in that to me, where it's like I think they were trying to annoy us, and I think that this was the part of making the movie that maybe they thought was super fucking funny, was making this stuff as terrible as possible. Which, when you look back at ThanksKilling 1, almost seems like their intent.
Well, their intent definitely was to make a bad film when they did that first one. But before we move on to special effects, because we're talking about intent, so that might not be a bad thing to move on to, but was there any more that any of y'all wanted to talk about when it comes to the plot of the characters?
R.I.P. Jefferson.
So let's talk, I guess, about the special effects. I mean, if you were going to compare this one to the first one, when it comes to special effects wise, I must say the special effects on this one kind of knock it out of the park in some aspects.
For sure.
It's they do a lot of puppetry in this one, and as I said, I actually thought the puppetry, and I managed to get to watch Happy Time Murders once by accident, and unfortunately, since I own it on DVD, I'll probably be watching it again. But I actually thought it was better than Happy Time Murders quality-wise puppetry.
I haven't seen, so I can't compare, but it had a special quality to it for sure. And I like how they didn't even try to like hide the bars or the wires or anything like that for a lot of stuff, because that just gives it such a like we don't give a fuck, low budget charm.
Well, it looks a little better for Death Kappa.
I gotta say, since
I
this
still gotta watch that.
I gotta say that since this was an Indiegogo campaigned film,
Kickstarter, motherfucker.
it wasn't Kickstarter. It wasn't Kickstarter. I remember. I remember the campaign. I just wasn't part of it. But since it was Indiegogo'd, you gotta think that people were paying them to make a bad movie.
Right. And they packed in as much as they could, you know, like they delivered for sure on that fucking part of the recipe. And I think if they're guilty of anything and it is them trying too hard, it was because of like gratitude to the people that fucking.
But did they make it so bad that it's unwatchable?
I don't know if it is though. Like I said, like 60% of it is kind of great. And then there's
not unwatchable.
There's just huge sections of stuff that is lame.
It make you fall asleep, can't it?
But I mean, maybe I had just enough weed in me or something. But I feel like it was fucking done intentionally to like annoy us, you know. And then it kind of comes back around to being funny again. You know, like you never been on a car ride with a friend that keeps like making some stupid inside joke. And it goes from being hilarious to like, fuck, that's annoying me. And then it becomes hilarious again because it's annoying you.
Now, I'll admit I didn't bother doing this because, frankly, I can't today. I just can't. And I would have fallen asleep and probably still be passed out if it wouldn't, if Pain hadn't got me first. But I did like that the movie gave you an option to watch it as a drinking game.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, I did that once, but I didn't make it through.
I need to try it, I think.
So how did that work? Did it just prompt you every time you're supposed to do it, or?
I don't remember. I remember getting very, very drunk to the point where I didn't remember anything, and that doesn't help, I guess, as far as
I think I need to see a fucking very, very drunk, blacked out Septum Son.
I actually have to say that Rhonda Worm is probably my one of my favorite characters.
You just love the porn stash.
Well, in the comb over, there's so much artistry put into that character. It's kind of staggering, really.
Well, and when he grows right back,
he or she. Did you just assume that worm's gender? It was pregnant with his child. Okay.
True.
Well, okay. We haven't heard from Jake his favorite characters, though. I don't think. Do you have any?
A favorite?
So much. I don't know why.
Probably the Wig. What were we calling them? The Wig Brothers? Is that?
Yeah, the Powder Wig Bros.
Probably, yeah. It's really.
For a second, I thought you were going to say Yomi.
Well, I apparently didn't hate her as much as everyone else did, but yeah, not my favorite.
I gotta say, this name is kind of catchy. Rimjob Rick.
Okay.
That's like a good name that you'd want to use as like a stage name if you were in like a dirty ass gore grind band or something. Rimjob Rick.
I don't know. I can't help but think that sounds like an episode of Rick and Morty that probably didn't air.
Hell yeah.
Well, it is a character in here, so.
Put a pin in that. If we ever start a band, dude, you have dibs on Rimjob Rick.
So, you always got to have like a backing name, though. You could do some. Oh God.
Oh, I need to hear that. So bad.
Oh, I was just thinking Rimjob Rick and the Reach Around.
Yes, dude, that's such a fucking awesome band name right there. Holy shit.
For that,
you listeners can take that to the bank right there. I mean, feel free to use it if we don't first.
For that matter. For that matter.
For kids.
Yes, for
Are
kids.
any of you guys doing anything next Monday night?
Well, from the sounds of it, we're going to be opening for Yo Gabba Gabba as Rimjob Rick and the Reach Arounds here soon.
Our usual filming.
Yeah.
Well, only if you guys are up for it. I can send you guys Flesh Gordon and Flesh Gordon 2.
Oh God.
Oh,
Okay,
good
I know that's something that I'm gonna fight.
I still
we
haven't
can-
watched Dick Shark yet.
Well,
I was hoping someone in here would bring up Dick Shark eventually because I
still
felt
need
weird
to get a
like
copy of
recommending
Dick
it. But
I still have to get a copy of Dick NATO.
Oh, God.
Dick Shark's 3 hours long though. That just bothers me at some point.
3 hours? Ugh.
Yeah, I want to say it's close to that. If it's not 3 hours, it is very close to 3 hours long.
which one?
The Dick Shark.
My God, that's brilliant.
That's the first one. The second one is Dick NATO, and actually it's called something different now. But if you actually talk to the director, he actually has a copy that has Dick NATO on it.
Are you guys aware of Will Wheaton's Cape of Dicks? Yes, Will Wheaton, Wesley Crusher from Star Trek.
Oh God.
Used to go and watch that guy all the time at Comic-Con, and a fan once gifted him a Cape of Dicks, so he used to go around displaying it
Well,
when
we
he
sure.
was on stage, you know. And I
Well-
always wanted to see a crown of dicks, but I don't believe it ever happened. Like a Burger King crown, but with dicks, you know.
Well, we certainly don't have to worry about Kappa on this episode.
Let's hope not. So, well, no. The movie is full of puppets, so it's obvious.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's obviously for kids. This discussion, we're using a lot of kid-friendly, simplified language. It's all in the
Yeah, just-
vernacular.
Check out that fucking Pluckmaster commercial they show at the beginning of the movie. Of course it's for kids, you know.
Well, and you
Well,
have to put the kids in the movie.
Did you marry your wife for fucking and not for her food? Or what does he say? Like, not for her fucking ability to cook?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, I was going to say back to the special effects. I actually like the puppetry in this and several of the mix and matching of special effects that they went through. I was fairly impressed for what this is. I mean, they utilized their funding quite well when it came to the special effects. I was they had animation scenes that were not as bad as the freaking animation scenes in the original ThanksKilling.
Technically, yes, but they didn't have the same charm, those animation scenes in this one.
Well, I didn't say it was necessarily as charming, but I do feel like they did do a lot of improvement on the
Yeah,
special
technically,
effects.
it was definitely executed better.
I feel like it's like Dave said, I feel like they watched Meet the Feebles, and they really wanted to emulate that effect.
And they succeeded to a point, you know. I mean, but like anything in this movie, I think it was done in a way that gives you too much of something that might be kind of a good thing for a second, but then it gets annoying, you know?
Yeah, true. And of course, then we have also touched a little bit on the music as well. Probably one of the best parts of this.
Yeah.
Well, Jake, what did you think of the musical sections? I don't know if you call them musical. They're more like acid trip music videos.
Well, I was thinking primarily of the main theme, which I know was recycled from the first movie, and I like the theme. I think it's really good. Some of the other musical, quote-unquote musical parts, like that song that Rhonda tries to sing at the end that is interesting and weird. Some of that is interesting and weird.
Yes.
But the actual music, for the most part, is pretty good.
Yeah, it really is, you know. I would go as far as to say that theme for the original movie that they, you know, I guess recycled in this or whatever, is good enough that if you really took just that original version of it and punched it up with, like, you know, some bass and snare beats and stuff, you could do like an awesome rap over that. So any guys that are technically inclined want to send me an instrumental of that shit, I'll do it up. You know, the music being included is something I mentioned at the beginning because it is like definitely a highlight of both movies. I would say is the soundtrack and the music that they include in it. There's actually a little like notepad over here with some notes. I need to look up General Bastard and a couple of other people that did music for both these movies. You know.
Oh yeah, it was a fun. I actually thought the music was a plus on that, and that granny rap at the end.
Oh my god! I mean, that just needed to happen on stage with Guar, dude. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. That may be the best granny rap since what was it, The Wedding Singer or whatever?
No, I'd prefer the vote above it. It's just too adorable, that part in Wedding Singer. On cute points alone, it destroys this one, but this one was pretty great.
Yeah, I would have to say. But still, not a... Again, I don't think that the movie is that terrible overall, but I feel like it's mediocre when you compare it to the original source material, which
For
many
sure.
might disagree, considering last time we did this discussion, very few people really liked this film.
I wish I was around in those days. Have your back, Brandon.
But I still felt like it was worthwhile, especially bringing up the sequel, because, well, I mean, it's just worth getting the whole series covered. So, do y'all think that there's going to be a ThanksKilling 4?
I think that there not only needs to be, well, okay, I think what they should do, just to make it as stupid as possible, is do ThanksKilling 2 next, you know? Like, resurrected, you know, some Indian chieftain necromanced this from the fucking vault right here.
And maybe they found
long lost ThanksKilling 2, just to release it out of order and make it as dumb as possible.
And then maybe somehow they unearth 4, and that'll be like the second half.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, just keep doing it out of order. I'm down for that all day. Yes, I think that they'll cash in on it eventually. It's too hard not to do, because this definitely has like a bit of a cult following, and it wouldn't be that hard to do another one that people would kickstart or Indiegogo or whatever the fuck. GoFundMe.
At least the first one had a cult, or has a cult following. I mean, it definitely got a cool 2 DVD box set thing. So.
Well, and we're 4 dudes right here discussing the second one right now.
I know, right?
Stands to reason there's other people out there that have made this mistake or whatever you want to call it. And so it's definitely a movie worth having some fun with. And I think a third one or a fourth one would be amazing. You know, hopefully it happens. But
Tim says he liked it.
Oh, well, see, there you go. It's I was almost sad that we didn't get Tim on this one, because I feel like it's good to have somebody that actually did like the film on board.
I guess a good question here would be, what would you guys say if you were recommending this to someone? Like, or if you were recommending ThanksKilling as a whole, you know, to someone.
I guess I'd recommend the Thanksgiving as a whole, just to see it in its fun hilarity. I mean, there are some interesting points that this film gives up. I won't say it's a good film. I won't say it's a bad film. Is it watchable? Yes. Is it entertaining to a certain point? I guess, but Would I watch it again? Probably not. I'd probably watch the first one over and over more than I'd watch the second one. But if you want to watch it in its entirety, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you.
What about you, Brandon? What would you say were you to recommend this to anybody or give them any cautionary notes or anything?
I would definitely recommend to proceed with caution. But do I think that I would be like, mainly if you like stuff that is with puppets and has a slight disgusting factor, this might be the film for you.
And it has no distinctive plot points entirely.
Oh, it has some distinctive plot points.
That plot was nailed down hard, dude. It's like some Lord of the Rings shit right there.
No, that was more like... Yeah.
I mean, she had lost her mind, so therefore, you had to go find it. If you lose your mind, you gotta go find that shit.
I guess when you lose your mind, you really lose your mind.
Exactly.
It's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's just not there.
It's like Finding Nemo, except with a mind.
Would you say that like you necessarily need to watch this one, or should watch this one if you've enjoyed the first one, or what are your thoughts on that, Brandon?
Oh, I think that it has to satisfy a curiosity point of view. I mean, you think about it in that way, there is that, it's always going to be that curiosity. If you do not watch the third one, there's another one. Why didn't I watch this one?
Not everyone has a curiosity factor, by the way.
Well, if they don't, then they're not.
I have that curiosity, which is why I watched or tried to watch it the first time. I think I was just overtired by the time I did watch it.
Telling you guys, it's the tryptophan and the turkey. They talk about it every year right around Thanksgiving. Don't people get DUIs and shit because they ate too much turkey and they're like falling asleep?
Yeah, that's true.
I just don't want to eat my Thanksgiving and then go on a ride at Thanksgiving Land, man.
I want to fucking fly down that gravy boat and splash into the Gravy River while I get my nacho chips in the sauce just to piss off Jefferson.
You just want to go on that cranberry tilt-a-whirl.
As long as he doesn't long pike my hands off, I think we'll be good.
I would go on that ride. I would go on Thanksgiving Land just because, you know.
You have to experience it at least once.
Oh yeah, it's
probably a majestic sight seeing the whole herd of the grandmas and their mobility scooters coming over the hill just at dawn to get those early bird tickets, and then you see the drunk people wandering around noon. Everyone's having a good time riding in Gravy River, and then roundabouts 4 or 5 o'clock, right before the football game they want to watch starts, they start falling asleep on a couch or a bench or under a tree in the park. I think it sounds like a brilliant, almost heartwarming scene of fucking depravity on Thanksgiving. I think it would be amazing. Thanksgiving.
It's a bunch of rapping grandmas, but that matter.
Oh yeah, smelling that pussy.
Yeah, spitting them rhymes along with their dentures.
I don't know. What about you, Jake? If you were to, if someone asked you about these and you had to recommend it or whatever to someone, what would be your in a nutshell summary of how you would do that?
Well, I'd wonder what they were offering that would make me have to recommend them. But anyway.
Maybe they're your hated enemy and you need to do something to offend them.
Well, the first one, I give a mild recommendation for fans of low-budget horror, and especially horror comedy, and especially gross-out humor. It's definitely a film that should be seen for people that like that kind of stuff. And again, there were moments that I was like, and I was all too happy to help Brandon subject this group to that movie. But the second one, or third one, I guess.
Which is why we're doing this with only a few select people.
I would say with this one, I guess I would say if you liked the first one and you don't mind setting the bar a little lower than you would have otherwise, you should enjoy it.
Oh,
Because, like I said, I found it watchable and it did make me smile occasionally. A couple parts even probably got a chuckle out of me.
Would it be considered a good movie to you?
No, but it's no. There are worse ways to waste your time. I got more out of this one than Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Fuck yes. That's all the vote of confidence we need right here. To get out there and check
it's
it
not Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. There you go.
out. That needs to be the quote on the fucking thumbnail for this video. It needs to be like a little blurb down there and Kotobuki Jake underneath.
Not another teen movie again. No.
I don't know. If I recommended this to someone, I think I would say that it's, if you want to watch something stupid that's also good for some laughs, double feature those bitches. Like, do you need to watch the second one? No, but if you've watched the first one and you've spent that much of your time doing stupid stuff like that, you might as well just watch the second one.
Are you talking about this or are you talking about Paul Blart?
I've not seen those Paul Blart movies.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the fucking pictures of him on a Segway. But it's definitely on the face of it for people that want a stupid movie.
Yeah.
I detest the term "good movie" when it comes to movies like this because it is a movie. You can't apply a term like "good" to stuff like this because then it starts people fucking thinking that you have to rate it against like other actual movies. And
is it necessarily a bad movie?
I wouldn't even call this. I don't even like the term "movie" apply. This is a fucking. This is a holiday extravaganza right here, boys. That is that's produced out of a lot of, I think, like weed consumption and the ability to crowdfund ridiculousness. And I love it for those reasons, but you got to go into it expecting what you're getting from it. And I think ThanksKilling is one of those movies where you look at the cover and you immediately know. I mean, I think it says "warning tits" within the first second, and that's one of my favorite traditions.
Yeah.
They kept it up in this one.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, we get a lopsided fucking astronaut chick with her titties hanging out.
By the way, that was Wanda Lost, who was also in the first one.
Yes.
What happened to her right tit in the years following the first one? Because they were balanced and nice in the first one, and then they were like super unbalanced and kind of was like, I like this, but I don't.
Super clip-hearted and pasted.
I need to know the story of that tit. I think she had a kid and breastfed too much on one side or something. I don't know, but it's the type of things these movies will make you wonder.
Yeah, I swear that seagull was borrowed from Birdemic. I swear.
Oh, that's
So
on
what would you-
on here for sure.
We've talked about a lot of other things, but how would you take this film and make it into a masterpiece? Like a full-on masterpiece film.
I'd say slice out about 30 to 40 minutes of it, it could easily be 30 minutes shorter and have some of those jokes that don't hit home kind of cut out. And if they tightened it up a little bit like that, I think it would be just as good as the first one.
See, that's the thing. I don't think they edited it. I think they just left all the things that they wanted in, and this is our cut, boys.
Right.
I mean, it didn't even go into the editing room.
I'd revert back to my
together and it'd be like, okay, the guys, this is a film. That's a wrap. Right.
I'd revert back to my original statement, which is that I love like 60% of it, and a good 40% of it is kind of like, oh God, And
you kind of feel like when they wrapped principal photography, they had an enormous kegger. And they were all so completely passed out afterwards that they
just like fuck it.
A week later, they were all like, "Hey, did anyone ever edit this?"
I'm sure somebody did.
And that's part of the charm of the shit too, for sure.
No, they all went in with a big bag of weed, and they stoned their way through, and then at the end they were like, "Hey, man, we have our disc, we have our movie. Let's take it to the public."
And especially with crowdfunded shit, it is kind of cool that they just gave us everything they had, you know? Like, it could have easily been cut by 30, 40 minutes and been a funnier movie, but they just gave us all of it, you know? And that is kind of cool in itself.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about making the film better? I agree, though. Editing it and cutting it would definitely have helped a lot.
One of the few times we'll ever be able to say that, like, cutting shit out of a horror movie would have made it better. You know? I don't know if you can really call it horror. It's straight up comedy. Who's scared of a fucking turkey? Well, I am actually scared of turkeys. You ever see those motherfuckers at the county fair when you're in, like, the poultry barn?
Oh, they're more vicious than geese.
Dude, they fucking don't like you poking your... They don't like people, those turkeys. And I don't blame them because they know they're going to get fucking eaten.
Just put it through the pluck master.
I guess if you've ever taken a trip through the poultry barn at a county fair, you can kind of understand turkey's motivations in these movies a little bit.
Well, let's get ready to wrap things up and talk about our favorite scenes. We talked about scenes that stuck out, but what were your favorite scenes in this film?
Jake, I'm passing it off to you.
I'm sure there was a part that you really enjoyed.
I'm not really sure. Maybe I think the scenes of Jefferson talking to everyone from heaven were pretty funny.
Fuck yeah.
And I got at least, I don't know why exactly, I did get some minor amusement out of the seagull scene. I don't know, there were a few that were...
It reminded me of The Rescuers, the seagull scene.
And I did like that commercial for the turkey oven. We briefly alluded to that. I did enjoy that commercial. Yeah.
And the news part, you're watching news with a Z.
I did kind of like the news report about how they were going to bury ThanksKilling 2. Because it's like, don't get that kind of trash on them from the media typically. They usually get buried and forgotten.
Actually, that whole fucking part kind of plays off of, I think, maybe the whole E.T. Atari cart controversy. I'm sure Brandon probably knows at least.
Oh, yeah.
And that actually counts as kind of a third musical, or I hate calling them, a music video segment in the thing. Because that whole intro segment with those guys dumping the dump truck and the gas masks and shit like that kind of almost sets you up to fall asleep now that I think about it.
All right. Well, did we get everybody's favorite? I mean, not my own, but...
Well, I kind of sort of talked about a few of them throughout. Like, I get a kick out of when the pluck master kind of plucks turkey and sends him out the window. And like I said, I like the part where, which is a little bit after this, where the skeleton turkeys, which goes back to my reference about Jason and the Argonauts, because he kind of calls his dead turkey. So in a sense, it kind of turns into kind of like a Night of the Turkey Dead kind of a.
Oh, where they're like plucking that guy apart.
Yeah, and they're putting him back together, and they forget his. They misplace his penis. So. I guess I get a kick out of the one scene where Jefferson says, "Oh, you," fuck you. You know.
If I had to pick a favorite scene, it's going to be the light switch scene with Jefferson because that just made me laugh uncontrollably for some reason.
I don't know why, but every time I saw the bits and pieces of Heaven, I kept going back and thinking to South Park, where the first episode, was it Kyle or not Cartman? Kenny. Kenny died, went to heaven, saw those virgins. You know, and for some reason, that heaven kind of reminds me of this heaven. You know, in a sense, just barely. Yeah, there are some little scenes throughout. I mean, that I can't really pick just one.
Well, you can't. You just can't pick just one. For me, I don't know what it is about it, but that beginning.
I'm not saying that this is a very good movie either.
The beginning is great.
The whole ThanksKilling 2 scene, to me, is just is perfect.
Well, and the whole sitcom shit afterwards too is pretty great. Like,
did you see who it was directed by? Cranberry Man.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, overall though, it was a fun film. I enjoyed it. I think it was flawed, but it could have been worse.
Brandon, do you think that this film is underrated?
Well, it's hard to say it's not underrated because I doubt many people even know it exists.
I think there's probably people that have judged it on that first pass, which I could see like getting through with that and being like, this was fucking ridiculous. But I think in subsequent watches, if they watch ThanksKilling and then watch this one, they'll parts of it at least will grow on them more. So I'm gonna fall back on the statement I've been making all night, which is it's like a 60-40 film. 60% of it is, you know, good stuff that makes you love it because of the first one, and then 40% of it is like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, any case, I guess that's it, really. We'll go ahead and talk about our stuff, and then I guess that will be the end.
Alrighty.
So I guess, Jake, you can go first for once.
Are we doing the typical outro here? Is that the...
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't done one of these in so long. I can't remember how they do it.
Well, okay. Well, I'm Jake, and I am a movie collector, fan, what have you. Frequently on Septum Sin Against the World on YouTube. Sorry, I'm tired as hell, so I'm just... and also my own YouTube channel, Kotobuki Jake. As per our video that went up this week, we will see how much longer that will be, but hopefully for a while yet. And yep, and that's all I got for right now.
Mo, go ahead.
My name's Mosley. I'm just a dude who reviews like old movies and video games. If you want to check me out, hit up Rebel Gaming Club or come to my channel, which is Drunken Master Studios. And obviously, you know, I'm trying to do better in these things. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this so far. Definitely check out Septum Sin vs. the World for all your up-to-date goddamn, like, you know, physical media releases. And David Strege over there at the Grandeur for all his numerous movie reviews that he does on stuff that doesn't get enough attention. I'm mostly just here because these guys like other channels that I'm on, and it's like, you know, I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed it so far.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So yeah, this is I'm Septum Sin of Septum Sin versus the World. I run a site dedicated to physical media. and the love of physical media for YouTube for as long as it may last. And so long as COPA doesn't kill us off, we hope to still remain relevant in the future. And hand it back to you, Dave.
Alrighty, and I'm David Strahy. I run Inside Movies Galore, but I run it with all of you guys. So thank you for coming along with this film journey. Those who have come and gone, and those who are still with us and ready to be terminated in the next half hour. Join us as we hook up Skyline and send you back from the future to listen to us while we go on about a classic film called The Terminator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, in about a good half hour. And I also run my own movie review page called Delusions of Grandeur, which though I haven't exactly put anything out, I do plan on putting something out soon and finishing up my American Horror Project of films. I was asked to do a couple of reviews, and those will be coming out soon too. I believe one called The Riverbed and Death Toilet 2. So stay tuned for those. I guess like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for listening, all. Everyone say good evening.
Good evening.
I will say,
and
you
happy
downplayed yourself, sir.
And
he's got a lot of good movie reviews over there. And Septum Sin versus the World does a lot of good Criterion videos. They do anime lists. You know, David's over there doing his low budget shit. So definitely get out there and sub them both up. Modest.
Good deal.
And I want to give a quick shout out for Drunken Master Studios, because he downplays himself a lot too with his movie segue reviews himself. So he's got a style amongst his own and is a monster among reviewers. So check his shit out. In any case, stay tuned. We'll have some more cool discussions for you yet tonight, so stick around.
We'll be back.
Hasta la vista,
motherfuckers.
baby.
All right.